when you're off from gigs and touring for 1.5 years, like none of the bands do that willingly. That's a new scenario. If you are forced not to be able to play and you come back on stage, it feels weird. Like, of course, first you are excited. It's going to be the best thing ever. We get to play. Then you realize when you step on the stage that there's no routine. We used to have routine for 15 years. I haven't been off from touring for such a long time. And now no routine at all. Like, where do I put my feet? Should I put it on the monitor? How did I used to stand on the stage? What should I say between the songs? Like, everything that was coming automatically was not there.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of Inner Sleeve, the podcast taking a behind-the-scenes look at all things music. I'm Cassius Morris, Joe Pacheco joining me on the line as always. What's happening, man?
I'm doing good, my man. You?
Doing good. The Eagles are in town tonight, man. I just found out today. I feel like I'm supposed to be the concert guy. Oh, look at this.
Now, this wasn't on purpose. I just happened to be wearing this shirt, and when you saw it, you're like, hey, I'm going to go check out the show. Yeah.
It's perfect timing. Yeah, man. You got me thinking. I wanted to hop down there, but you actually saw a pretty cool concert yourself recently.
Yeah, I got to see on Friday night, last minute, in the lodge, in the lodge, not like in the crowd with all the peasants. I got to be in the lodge.
None of the common folk.
Drinking beer, eating a pizza, watching a metal show. That's honestly, at my age, that's the way it has to be. That's the way it should be done.
That's a fact.
We caught Tobias. Honestly, for me, it was my first time catching a Ghost show.
Ghost.
And I didn't even know last minute opener was Mastodon, which I just caught recently. So that was fun to see.
Nice.
But moving back, Mastodon's always good. They always put on a good performance. And I find sometimes their music, though, gets lost in a big venue like that. Like they're just very active kind of parts and stuff, but it was really good. But Ghost, on the other hand, wow. Like, I just got to say, I'm not a huge Ghost fan or any way, shape or form, but I mean, I like them, don't hate them, all that stuff. But I was impressed with the show in terms of it was a good show to watch. It was fun, but the sound, man, I had my little plugs, so that I wouldn't go deaf to protect my little ears.
Of course, you have to.
But I heard, usually when you go to a show, it's like the first song, you can't hear the vocalist, or if the vocalist wants to say something that's not in the song, but just wants to talk to somebody while the band is still
it's all chugging. Muffled and
or you miss out, or the guitar solo is late, or I could barely hear it. No, dude, I did not miss a single vowel that came out of his mouth, whether it was rocking or whatever. Everything was crystal clear. Guitar leads were amazing. Like, in terms of, I swear, I just had no complaints. I was just amazed the whole time watching the show, enjoying the songs, enjoying the performance. And I just kept saying, I can't believe I'm hearing everything. Like, I felt like I was at a small club where you could hear everything, and you hear every little detail.
And how big was the venue?
Place Bell here. So I'd say it's a little bit smaller than the main place. I'd say, man, 9,000 seater, I think.
Okay. So basically arena.
Yeah, totally. A hockey arena for sure. And it was, and I'd say, man, I think it'd be safe to say 6,000 to 7,000 people ish, it didn't
pretty
look
good.
full, but it was pretty full. Yeah, very good, and he's got a captive audience here. The people just love him. And there was just one part in the show that I found everything was perfect. This one part was cheesy where this Pope comes out, they bring him, they wheel him out, and they take 2 defibrillators and they pump him and sparks come flying, sort of to revive the Pope. So I'm thinking, wow, what's going on here? This is weird, what's happening? And I thought it was Tobias, but it wasn't. He was backstage.
Oh.
And then the second defibrillator, bam, he whips into a sax solo. And I was like, oh my God, I was crying laughing.
That's weird.
I thought it was. Yeah, it was really weird.
Tobias always putting some messaging,
Yeah, it's funny. How people always saying he's mean to the band members and stuff like that. One thing I found weird, I witnessed some stuff on stage. He's literally telling off the bass player, F you, this and that, or whatever. Or even the guitar player telling him, hey, get over here. Stand here. Don't stand in my light, but stand over here. And then even moves his head to make sure he's headbanging with the song, So
wow.
But that made me think it's just part of the.
I was gonna say maybe it's part of the character, because that's pretty brazen.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything like that, because I saw them a couple years ago and he didn't even interact with the band. So that's interesting.
That's what I thought. It's just probably more just for show or for fun, and it's the character. He's probably in character at that point, So that's kind of the idea. Anyway, very good show. I had a good time. The second best part is that it's literally one road, 10 minutes from my place. So I love
nice.
it. No
in, out.
Looking for park, in, out. Exactly. That's the beauty of it.
That's the beauty. Today's guest on the podcast is the one and only Tuomas of Wolfheart. It was a pleasure to have our guy on the show today. Really coming in heavy with some very interesting concepts overall. You know, I think this episode went a lot deeper than just music, Joe.
Yeah, one thing I really loved about it, like the takeaway was, for me, the biggest one is like how straightforward the guy was. All cards on the table. He's not, bullshitting anybody. It's like, we struggled, like to keep the tour going or like to keep people busy, like there's still like all, working day job. I know it's all that stuff. I'm getting way ahead. I want to just prepare the people, but it was very matter of factly, like straight up, like he's not trying to color it, make it sound like it's pretty or it's been pretty the last 2 years. Like, I think of all the artists we've gotten, a lot of them have mentioned their struggles throughout the pandemic and to keep people going. But this is a really cool view into, I would say, a medium-sized band. You're not like Beyonce where you have everything at your disposal kind of thing, and you're not an indie guy that's just
exactly.
I'll get on any gig. This is like you have a team anyway. So yeah, definitely check out the interview at the end because like it's definitely a good eye opener for a lot of people, I'm sure.
Jumping over to some news in the world of hip hop, Lil Baby was apparently a big baby this past weekend as he did not show up to his concert in Vancouver. Now, this went down at the Breakout Festival at the PNE Center in Vancouver. The artists that were billed to be on this show included Lil Baby and Lil Uzi Vert, and those are two of the artists included in the names of people who did not show up to this venue. So understandably, look, you're charging $375 for a 2-day pass, which is pretty crazy, and then the biggest artists don't show up, Joe. I don't think there's ever grounds to riot, but I do understand why people were upset. Do you?
100%. But yeah, exactly. Same thing. Like, what's the point of smashing property that had nothing to do with it or other people's property or your own property? Technically, it's your tax dollars that's paying for that.
Well,
stuff,
exactly.
Well, not tax dollars, but you know what I mean? Like,
and your personal dollars when you're getting bailed out later. So, I mean, it's definitely a lose-lose situation.
Yeah. But we can understand, yeah, for sure. Like, especially like last minute, right? Like, he was at the venue.
Yeah, so apparently Lil Baby was at the venue, and there's apparently some video of him. Now, you don't actually see Lil Baby in this video, but he was being walked out of the venue by security guards. He had a towel over his head, and his security guards were physically attacking anyone who tried to take a picture. So obviously it's not even worth showing. It's a blurry video. We do have some video of the actual riots, though, here. So this was the aftermath of what happened with the audience.
Thank you. So obviously an outdoor festival. Yeah, they're tearing apart the tents and all that stuff. It's great. It's nuts, huh? Because I'm sure like a lot of these people on their own have the common sense. It's like let's not do this, But when it becomes like that mob mentality.
Yeah, and when they jump up there and they start getting empowered by the crowd too and filmed, I think this is probably a symptom, of being pent up for so long, COVID. The thing is too, and again, there's no justifying this, but trying to put myself in their shoes. When you're spending almost $400 for 2 days after the pandemic, that $400 means a lot more to people than it ever has. So, I mean, I do think it was definitely wrong, and I'm curious to see what the factors were that led for all these major artists not to go. But we do have some troubling video that's come now of Lil Baby actually getting caught in the club partying with Travis Scott right before the Vancouver gig was supposed to happen.
DMZ again.
There's Lil Baby.
So what is up with these guys? Like, I mean, if you didn't want to do the show, like, I don't know. Maybe it was too messed up. Like they,
Well, the thing is, this was the night before in Las Vegas, and one of the things that a lot of fans are noticing here in Canada is that there really just seems to be a fundamental lack of respect for Canadian fans from rap artists. That really seems to be what a lot of this is boiling down to. We've had so many cancellations, people not showing up last minute, and it all comes down really to the fact that we feel like we're just not respected as much. Look, he went all out for Las Vegas, but when it comes time to go to Canada, he can bail out, right? I don't think this would have happened in Vegas or LA.
Yeah, well, who knows the real freaking reason, but like it just sucks for the fans because like not only, take away the money aspect, that's the most important. Personally speaking, for myself, I'd be really freaking pissed if I spent that kind of money.
Yeah.
And then like to be canceled on last minute. So don't forget, man, the plans, the excitement, the money, like getting stuff in order, getting there, all that stuff. So it's like, it just sucks to find out last minute. Like, and then that guy was actually there too, like that makes it even worse.
It's a very bizarre situation. I actually almost went to this actually as well as a patron. So I'm definitely glad that I completely avoided this situation. And it seems like Canada is not on a good run for the hip hop shows right now in Western Canada. We're having a little bit of turbulence. So hopefully it comes back. Look, we have the Eagles tonight, like I said, here in Edmonton. We just had Pink Floyd. I mean, we're doing good in that regard.
Yeah, well, like, not that I want to say, it's going to sound bad what I say, but I mean, like, stuff like the Eagles, Pink Floyd, or Roger Waters, that's established, classy sort of acts, they're going
for a long time
up unless something happens. But I mean, like, is Lil Baby known to do this kind of stuff? Because you also mentioned he was partying with, who was it again?
Travis Scott.
Travis Scott, who's also in trouble for X reasons, and crowd control and all that stuff. So, I mean, is it another case of the usual suspects always getting in trouble? Because, like, I mean, I don't think you'd hear this off of a Drake situation, or The Weeknd.
Definitely not. Lil Baby has actually been pretty good when it comes to this stuff. Like, for the level of rapper that he is and for the amount of trouble he admits to getting into, he's had minimal repercussions for it. I think guys like Da Baby, it's easy to confuse them with all these similar friggin' names, but I mean, guys like him are a lot worse. But yeah, Lil Baby, he's okay, and I think he's seen more as an inspiration. He just had an Amazon documentary come out about his life. So I mean, I think this is also part of why they're trying to conceal the fact of whatever happened with him this night. They don't want it getting out because he's very much mainstream right now. So the whole situation is interesting for sure. What do you guys think? Did Lil Baby consciously miss out on this show? Did he go a little bit overboard the night before? What exactly was the situation? Or was he just genuinely sick?
And how would you react? Like if last minute cancellation like that, would you be in the rioters or would you not be in the rioters? But you'd still probably be pissed, right? Let us know in the comments for sure.
Some breaking news in the world of Kanye West today. It appears that he's been shopping around and testing the market for a potential sale of his entire musical catalog. Now, obviously, this would be a massive collection for whether it would be a label or some sort of firm to actually get the rights to this music. And I think we have some facts and breakdowns about this too.
Yeah, but I'm a little confused because we just got this in as we were recording and we've figured this out. But it's saying Billboard claims that he's been shopping it around, and he's responding saying, just like Taylor Swift, my publishing is being put up for my sale without my knowledge, for sale without my knowledge, not for sale. So, but then when you go into here and Billboard is reporting that he's been shopping it around quietly, his catalog, which generates about $5 million a year for him. But in total, it seems to generate about $13.25 million annually in publishing royalties. Don't forget, that's just it's $13 million. It's publishing royalties. There's still performance royalties. There's still a ton of other royalties, mechanicals and all that stuff in there. And I'm assuming it's $5 million goes to him because the label has some of it. There's writers, there's other publishing artists, other publishing entities that, dip in as well. And he's asking for a 35 multiple. So 175 million, to see if you can get it, right? So I know when we were speaking about this just recently, right now, you're saying $5 million doesn't seem like a lot, right?
Well, I mean, in comparison to what you would imagine.
Yeah, 100%. Because the thing is, we're so used to seeing these billions. This company, Microsoft, bought this company for 70 billion, So we see these crazy astronomical numbers, but it's interesting to see that, okay, it's $13 million. Doesn't seem like a lot when he's talking about deals with Nike for this or that, So that's why these guys, these massive Beverly Hills homes and all these cars and
that's
security.
The thing. It's misleading too, because you see them with a $30 million home. You see them with $5 million in cars, $5 million in jewelry. So you assume in your head, okay, he must be making hundreds of millions. But the reality is, guys, and look, like we were saying, this is why they go for so many different brand deals. This is why you see artists in commercials and you hear, Red Hot Chili Peppers in a Pringles commercial. Is because, they're not necessarily making as much as you may think they're making, even though they're making still all things considered, a ton of money.
Yeah, I mean, like, come on, like $5 million, I'd be more than happy to live off of that for once only. Give me that $5 million once, I'll probably be living to the rest of my days on that, you know? But I mean, it's all relative, right? These guys, like, they have expenses and all that stuff. Security alone, everywhere you go, you have security, you have to pay these people, you know? You have to, so it costs. But don't forget, there's touring royalties, there's like all the sponsors, he's making money, that's for sure.
He's a billionaire too, which is insane to think. If he's making $5 million a year off his albums, it's insane to think that he's making so much money elsewhere.
Exactly.
I think it's mostly off his shoes.
Yeah, so that's where, like, a lot of these guys do wine deals, cologne deals, like they become more entrepreneurial and make other things because you got to keep up with the Joneses, man. You got to keep paying your bills.
Everybody's got a vodka soda or a bottle of gin now. It seems every celebrity it's like, it used to be one or two. Now it's every bottle is a different endorsement.
That's it. So yeah, I wonder we don't know much more than that because like just sort of just came out and it's going to be developing. But I mean, we'll see what happens if he sells because like everybody's been selling their catalogs as we saw, right? David Bowie, Springsteen. I mean, they're all selling for like the couple $100 million. So. I mean, if he would be able to get 175 million in one lump sum, well, it's definitely better than getting 5 million a year, right? So,
can't argue with that.
Definitely keep our eye on this.
Now it's the part of the show where we react to you guys' suggestions. Of course, this is where we post every single week on the SoundMojo Comms tab, asking you guys to send us different songs from all different genres around the world to get our first reactions to our unfiltered opinions. And we have a pretty healthy amount of suggestions this week as well.
Yeah, we got some nice diversity again, like I love the audience, the fact that like it's so diverse, which is why I wanted to keep sort of the show as well, not just stuck to one genre or of stuff, like to just really cover music and all in all its aspects, So let's go with this one. We got like from DJ Khaled, right? So we got a DJ Khaled suggestion, but somewhere else, not in this. I think it was in the suggestion. Yes, it was in the last episode. There was a comment saying, "Please do God."
Oh yeah, it was right on the video.
Yeah, exactly on the last week's podcast. So. As soon as I saw, like I said, okay, cool, I'll do it, tune in next week and whatever. But as soon as I saw it was DJ Khaled, well, obviously I was like already, oh, really? Like, wow, man. Then I searched for the song and I'm like, because, he's always DJ Khaled, every song. Like, I honestly don't know what the guy contributes to these songs. I don't know if he's a writer. Maybe I'm not giving him enough props.
I mean, he makes the beats.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, I don't want to, but it's just like, come on, every song all I hear is DJ Khaled. Like,
it gets you're going to hear a lot of screaming the second you click it.
Yeah, so anyways, whatever. So, and another thing I noticed right off the bat is, like, they forgot to mention me and you in the features. Like, I mean,
there's everybody but us, right?
Yeah, everybody but us. Rick Ross, there's his next door neighbor, there's the guy who cut his hair when he was in grade 1.
The guy who cuts the grass.
So it's like, there's so many people on this track.
Well, people were wondering how he did it on the album because the album has like 50 features. It has basically everybody in the business. And people are like, is he money laundering? Like, how does he have these features?
Yeah, I don't know, man. But like, why do you need all these features? And it's funny. The feature thing is like seems to be even it's creeped into the metal and the death metal genre, as you'll see today.
Yes.
In this week's artist, they featured Jesse from Killswitch Engage on the Wolfheart songs. So it's like it's interesting that like something that was very EDM then crept into, which made not a lot of natural sense to hip hop because of like everybody hangs out in a crew. So of course you're going to feature your some people, some other rappers and stuff. But it is surprising to see that it jumped into death metal, of all things, or metal in general,
It was hard to anticipate that really happening, but I mean, I think it's a natural progression of like trying to keep up with it. It's. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, though.
It's also a good way to blend audiences, gain, like with YouTubers, right? Everybody's like, you try to collab to help your channels grow together. Well, it's the same kind of thing with artists, right? Anyways, all that to get back to the song God Did by DJ Khaled featuring everybody on the planet. Anyways, so I thought it was actually a really good track. I was listening to it, working. Yeah. I love the beat. I love the vibe of it. So just not a fan of him, to be honest. Like I don't know much about him and stuff, but I thought the song was really good.
I think people are starting to get sick of him too. I've been seeing a lot of TikToks sort of making fun of him and being like people, how DJ Khaled thinks we listen to his albums, and it's like people going crazy, getting excited to sort of make fun of him, right? But it's like, the guy is obviously, I think, a genius when it comes to marketing, and I hope it's mostly a character. If DJ Khaled is a character, and this is just a really smart guy who, when the cameras go off, he's normal, he's a genius. If DJ Khaled is a real person, he's out of his mind. So that's sort of the way I see it. Like,
well, so, you know, like, I mean, it's still the same. He's still a genius because, like, it's a very fine line, right? So, like, I always make
that's true.
I always make this stupid, like, comparison of, like, George Lucas, who, you know, created Star Wars, and all the struggles he went to get that thing done, to get it filmed. The crews in London that he was working with were like, this makes no sense. We don't work like this. We don't want to do this. They were walking out on him, all that stuff. So he went through all of that to make Star Wars, which today it's amazing, right? So it's like, he used that fight, because if that flopped, he would look like a clown and not a genius.
Absolutely.
Whereas now he's a genius, you know? So it's a very fine line.
Kanye West said it. Name one genius that's not crazy. That's the quote from the man himself. So
there you go. Exactly. So yeah, that was a pretty cool track. What did you think of, let's see here, Red Wings 1926? Personally, I love the Red Wings as my favorite hockey team. I don't know if you're mentioning 1926, if there's special Red Wings from back then. But anyway, Garçon Demon Dance. What'd you think of that?
Oh, this one here. This was the EDM track that was really... this one, I felt like I was in one of those after hours clubs. You know, those clubs are like they only sell Red Bull or something at 3 in the morning. Yeah. I felt like I was in one of those creepy clubs. Yeah. I like the Pulp Fiction sample in the beginning too. Anything that I know it's probably the most painfully overused movie now, but it is for a reason. So, I mean, I think this song was cool, and Demon Dance is a perfect title for this.
Yeah, and it's... You know, I thought it right away, like, same thing. It's actually a good way you put it, that, like, it does seem like an after hours kind of thing, and which, you know, sort of lends itself to the rave culture and all that stuff, which a lot of it came in the UK and France, right? So right away I knew Garçon, you know, like, okay, that's French, you know, and it reminded me right away of a lot of techno, you know, Daft Punk, Justice, a lot of that kind of EDM, but like still hard French sound, you know? So I definitely like this one. You liked it too?
I thought it was really good. You know, the other one that really stood out to me in terms of the production, it wasn't necessarily that this was the top song that would be on my playlist, but I really like the production of Zoe's Control. This track, I mean, the crispness of her voice, I don't know. Tell me if you know what I mean, Joe. It's like you can get hooked on the production and you want to keep listening, even if it's maybe not your cup of tea of a song, if they can nail that production.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I'd never even heard of Zoe's. Had you ever heard of her?
I had never heard of her, but almost 70 million views on YouTube. That's
exactly what I wrote here. I said, never heard of this. And there's almost 70 million views. I was freaking out. Yeah, and to piggyback on your the voice, what I found right off the top, how intimate it was, and how intimate but yet sensitive, emotional. That's the word I had here. You know, so like it was very. So that's what kept me listening too, because. I mean, it's always like, it's a very typical chord progression that we hear in almost all pop songs at this point, you know, like the way the chords, the same 4 chords kind of thing. But yeah, her voice kept me listening because it seemed like, you know, and there was a power behind it as well, the music and the production. So yeah, I definitely like this one too. Yeah.
Which was the other one that stood out to you the most?
Let's see. Well, the one that's the most different is I Move On, which is a Sintel song, which is from so it's very orchestral. It's also suggested to us by Here, and this was pretty cool. It definitely make me want, like, I love animated shorts, so definitely gonna want to see this. I'd never heard about this.
This was a video game vibe for me. Like, it reminded me of something you would hear in like one of those Zelda games or something like that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
This isn't exactly in my wheelhouse, but again, that's why we do this, guys. Like, I don't want to just sit in an echo chamber of my own music. I want to hear what's out there and what you guys are listening to. So, I mean, I thought this was cool, but definitely probably wouldn't have made it on my playlist, just personally.
One that really stood out to me was The Kinks, which we know of The Kinks, right? You Really Got Me, right? And all that stuff. But this one was Destroyer, which was Game X Simmons. And like, I'd never heard this one, but I felt like I did, in the sense that it's so similar.
The familiarity, man.
Dude, it's like, it felt like it was almost like the same song. Well, let's just change the verse, you know, like and put it on another album kind of thing. So it was interesting. Because they were like, it sounds like the earliest, even before punk was punk. You could hear the beginning of punk come out, the tone, the sound.
Absolutely.
And also at the same time, because they're British, at the same time, I hear the 90s, what was coming almost 20, 30 years later. I hear the Brit pop a bit. I hear the Brit rock a bit in there, So it was funny to go back and like sort of go hear the past already, because the 90s was 30 years ago.
30 years ago now, I guess.
And then hear how 20 years before that, how it sort of, all that sound is still going, as an underlying theme. What'd you think of it?
I feel like they were very much ahead of their time in a way, Joe, because it's like you hear all this stuff and you're like, that sounds like the Kinks, but even when the stuff they originated now, even when you go back, like you're saying, it sounds familiar. So it's like, you have to be very much ahead of your time. It's not easy to do, but it's a lot easier to sample something or interpolate something or, like that's already been done. But bands like the Kinks, they had nothing to interpolate. They were basically creating a genre right in front of us with the Clash and guys like that. So,
but the thing is, everybody takes from something else, right? So like Zeppelin took from all the black blues artists.
Exactly.
Same thing with Sabbath, and they borrowed stuff. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like it was sort of like uncharted territory. I think it was maybe easier then, to get into uncharted territory as it is now. Because like everything sort of almost feels like everything's been done kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the thing, that there was a lot less charted territory than there is now. Yeah. A lot of it's been charted. So I think it's a fine line. And that's why it's funny to hear, every other song now is like a remix of a 90s song. It's like it's basically just interpolation. So those guys who managed to do it originally, absolutely legendary. The other ones that, I kind of like different bits and pieces of a lot of these suggestions. I found that the song "Say," I don't have the actual artist name here right now. Who was that by?
Excuses.
Okay, Deuces Excuses.
Excuses.
Okay,
never
Excuses.
Heard of them
okay,
either.
Yeah, I'd never heard of them, but again, this was another one that like it had that familiar sound. It sounded like that good old punk pop sort of pop rock kind of vibe. I don't know.
Well, like same thing, rock. I mean, but like I put here, it makes me think of the Arctic Monkeys or the Strokes. That kind of like like punk.
The Strokes is what I was thinking.
Yeah, I always confuse those two. I swear, I always confuse Arctic Monkeys with the Strokes for some reason.
They're actually quite a similar band, I would say.
That's probably why.
Even visually when they're on stage. Very similar sort of aesthetic. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, it reminds me of those bands that kind of had I think Arctic Monkeys has maybe more longevity, but some of those bands that had a run in that specific time period, they had a very specific sound. Yeah. And again, I'm not sure about the longevity of this sound, but it definitely took me back to it. It was a moment.
So did you get to hear the 80s? The 80s recommendation, Idle Eyes. The song is called Sandra.
Yes. This was the Canadian band. It reminded me of Aha.
Ah, cool.
It reminded me of that kind of vibe because maybe that's the first group of this era that pops into my mind. I'm sure there's probably better comparisons, but no, I like this.
Yeah, because like I never heard of this. Like I didn't know it was Canadian. I should have known, I guess, but like I never heard this. Like it probably wasn't big around here when I was growing up. As soon as the song starts, that big 80s snare sound, like it's right away. Here we are.
Here we go.
Yeah. So I wasn't
Time
familiar
machine.
with this, but like you said, like in terms of Aha, I got right away instant Duran Duran vocal vibes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think
like,
that's almost that's what I actually meant to say, I believe, honestly.
Yeah.
Duran was more of the vibe, but I mean, the Take on Me as well.
That song is brilliant. I love that song. And that video for the time, man. I remember as a kid, I just kept watching because I was like, wow, I've never seen anything like this. Like it's like real people being animated. It's a comic book, real life. It was really a great song because I mean, it's in your head forever, right? And like, the video was really cool. My favorite, last one, I believe, is Grant Green, Idle Moments.
Oh, yes. So this record was, I think this is this a staple? Correct me if I'm wrong, but like in the jazz world, this seems to be one of the main ones.
I don't know about that because like, and thanks not Donald Fagen for suggesting this one because like I love this because it's smooth jazz, it's guitar jazz, and it's like I felt like I was listening to a vinyl for sure. But unfortunately, I'm not familiar with Grant Green. Like this is like somebody who slipped through my radar, I guess, because like you were saying, if this is sort of a staple, it must be, but like it's never something I never really came across this album or song, you know? So
see, I've seen the cover. Like, I instantly recognized the cover, but I didn't recognize the name of the guy or anything. So yeah, I feel like this is one of those albums you might see at record shops a lot.
Yeah, for sure. But like, see the cover one, I'm going to look at it now because like I'm having a bit of a brain fart here, but like, it looks a bit like, let me just see this.
It doesn't look like that other album, does it? Or it does?
But it looks like they're all similar. It looks like that Blue Note, you know, so it's like they're all sort of similar. Yeah, so you'll find like a Miles Davis that looks like this. You'll find Wes Montgomery that is like this. So that's probably why it looks familiar to you. But like to me,
they love that blue sort of shadow color.
Yeah, like that. What do you call that? Like
the moonlight kind of.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a term for it in photography, like duotone or like something like that. You know, like it's very simple. It's like black and white, but with blue. You know, like that kind of thing. So that was definitely my favorite for the week because like I was surprised I didn't even really know.
I think it was awesome. My favorite for this week was probably, you know what? I'm going to have to say the Demon Dance. I think that Garçon, they definitely had a cool vibe, and anything that can take me into another place and like make me project my mind into another room or something, I think is hitting the mark. So definitely, I thought that was very cool. Well,
they say, right? Music is supposed to, it's a trip, you know? It's supposed to bring you somewhere, right? Journey.
That's a fact. Make sure you guys keep checking out the SoundMojo Comms tab for all of these posts. We want to hear you guys' suggestions next week, and you never know. Maybe you might get a shout out or reaction to what you send right here on the show. So now we're going to hop into the interview portion of today's show. We're joined by Tuomas of Wolfheart, and it was a pleasure to have him on the program. Make sure to go hit that link down below in the description to check out Wolfheart. We have all the links that you guys need. Enjoy this interview, and we'll be right back right afterwards. Well, Tuomas, thank you so much for joining us on Inner Sleeve. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure all. Yeah.
Very cool. So maybe chat with us about the last couple weeks. I know you guys are ramping up for the September 16th release of King of the North. It must be sort of a pretty wild time, I would imagine.
It is. It's in a good way. We released also an album right when the pandemic exploded in Europe and States, and that was different kind of wild. That was just basically damage control all the way. So it is nice to be able to finally release an album. We actually did one EP also 2021. So we lost 2 releases during the pandemic.
Wow.
So it's quite nice now to do a promo with their tours coming and things look pretty normal in the world as it can be with the Russian and Ukrainian conflict. But now it feels good again to do promo. It's a different, like previous album, we lost 200 gigs in North America and Europe. And knowing that already when the album is coming out, that doesn't really make you much excited or happy what is happening. So it's a completely different mood now.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine it must have been so hard. So, I mean, you know, in terms of that, what were the main factors that made the different mood? Are you saying it's mostly just because things are more open now and you can actually get out there into the world? Is that helping?
That is a huge factor, yeah. Because like release an album and you know that you lost all the tours. That's gonna like shorten the lifespan of the album, like huge amount. Like with the album that we released before the pandemic, we did 140 gigs in 10 months.
Wow!
And the plan was to continue on that pace when the new album comes out. And we had huge amount of plans, huge amount of tours booked. Schedule was like 18 months planning what we're gonna do.
Smokes.
And losing that kind of like left us with nothing at all. And now having tours again booked, we could play festivals this summer already. It's like a huge relief. And of course, that makes the whole band much more happier about the release because there's a lot less question marks in the air.
Yeah.
Well, for sure, you have some of that stability, right? Which is, of course, important. So, I mean, what was it like on those first summer shows at festivals? And maybe have you noticed any differences in the live setting since the long hiatus at all?
Yeah, it was bigger difference than I thought. Like first one is when you are off from gigs and touring for 1.5 years, like none of the bands do that willingly. That's a new scenario. If you are forced not to be able to play and you come back on stage, it feels weird. Like, of course, first you are excited. It's going to be the best thing ever. We get to play. Then you realize when you step on the stage that there's no routine. We used to have routine for 15 years. I haven't been off from touring for such a long time. And now no routine at all. Like, where do I put my feet? Should I put it on the monitor? How did I used to stand on the stage? What should I say between the songs? Like everything that was coming automatically was not there.
Right. Because it was second nature after so long, but then you lose that, right?
Yeah. It's not like riding a bike. It like small details you lose. And of course, you don't have the same routine with the songs. It's like just huge set list of brand new songs that you don't remember the same way. So it was confusing in the beginning, more than fun actually, because the idea of the first festivals was amazing and fun, but stepping on the stage, realizing like I'm pretty badly fucked up here. and when you got that idea in your head, you don't question yourself in a normal state. When you walk on stage, this is my stage. This is our audience. We're going to get this done. But when you step on the stage and you get this small insecurity seed in your brain, that's going to stay there for the whole gig. So it was weird to come back on the stage, but it went off in few gigs, luckily.
Good.
Wow,
it's good.
It's insanely fascinating too. I mean, because it must have been an odd feeling almost since you've done it for so long. I mean, was it confusing?
It was. The first 2 gigs were very confusing.
Yeah.
And then it started to go normally, but this summer has been very in different kind of weird also in the festivals in Finland and Europe, because 2 years off for the industry also. A lot of companies lost a lot of people working for them. A lot of companies had to sell some of the PA or the light or the stage gear. And for example, in Finland, we had 300 festivals for the summer. We never had that many festivals. At the same time, we never had this low amount of people working for the festivals, or stage builders, stage hands, sound engineers, light engineers, whatever is connected for a festival. There was 75% of the people working, but double amount of festivals. So there were so many close calls. Some of the festivals were canceled on the same morning it was supposed to happen.
Holy smokes.
So there was I really, honestly, I thought it's going to go smoother, but of course, it seems a lot of people kind of smelled the money and thought after 2 years of break, whatever we put up, people will pay the tickets and everybody will make money, which was not the case.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some truth in there for sure, but nobody realizes. I was just having a conversation with someone where it's like, yeah, you're excited to buy a new guitar or a new microphone, but you don't realize all the little things you need. You need a case, you need strings, you need this.
Yeah,
so, same thing with touring. Nobody realizes that, to put on this production, it takes a massive team. And it's true for sure. People were seeing a cash grab, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, are you alarmed by some of the ticket prices? Because I've seen, certain bands charging as much as $500 just to sit, in the nosebleeds. This is sort of unheard of in this day and age.
I'm worried about a lot of things in the industry at the moment. Is some people seem to be very desperate to make the money that they used to make, or recover from the 2 years of not doing tours. And so the bigger the bands are, the easier it is, business-wise, to get them. But it's really difficult scenario for any smaller bands or very promising upcoming bands, because the support slot for the tours, completely different price. Not just that the headliners are asking more money, but at least in Europe, the gasoline price is over doubled because the Ukraine-Russia situation. If you have a tour bus and you are trying to do 20 countries in Europe and the bus is double the price, that fucks up most of the smaller tours already. So it's I think this whole situation is distorting the balance. It's going to be even more rough for the smaller bands. The bigger bands, of course, they have quite a bit organization behind them. It's like if you are a band, for example, like Nightwish, you have a lot of people working for the band, making their yearly like cash flow, supporting their families from that. So that system to work requires money. So they have to get on tour, they have to make the money back, but at the same time, the people are not in a good place financially because of the situation in Europe, for example, to buy that many tickets, go to that many shows. So now the biggest ones will get the most of the audience and the smaller get less, which is how the business works, but it's really bad for the smaller bands. And I feel really bad about that because now it's the pandemic is gone, we have the war now, but it's going to be at least 1 or 2 years from this day to see something normal that used to be in 2019, at least in Europe, I think.
Yeah. Definitely. Sorry, Joe, I didn't mean to jump in there.
No, I'm still like processing all that information because, everybody's excited to see that shows are coming back. And even myself, just as a fan, I'm like, there's just too many shows to even be able to go. So imagine like you said, with inflation, gas costs and everything, it's, wow, you made me realize we're in more trouble than I realized sometimes.
I'm sorry that I'm the bearer of the bad news.
I love it. No, it's true because everybody thinks it's so easy and so pretty and roses, but man, there's a lot of hard work and variables that you can't really control.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say also that the excitement of all this coming back could maybe be distorting some perspectives? Because I hear a lot of artists talking to us here too, like everything's great, everything's normal, and I'm just happy to be back. I don't care about anything else, but that's not necessarily reality.
It is. You have to consider that a lot of the bands were not playing at all for 2 years. Yeah. So that changes the standards with a good reason. It's also not just financial issue. Other bands might take completely different deals. Some of them want more money. Some of them do the same tour with half of the money they used just to be on the road.
Right.
It's not easy to run a band if you have a certain routine with the touring and everything, and that a routine is the backbone of the band. If you take the touring out, like guys at my age, we don't hang out at the rehearsal places anymore. Right. It's not the same. For us to function as a band the best way, it happens on the road. So at some point, if this would last 1 year more, I would just pay money from my pocket to bring my band on the tour because that's where I need the band be, and that's where I function with my band members. So it's a lot of bands come from a completely different angle to the same situation now. But it definitely, everything is distorted. Everything is distorted now.
It's also different for when you're everybody has their issues, but when you're just like a solo artist, it's different. But when you have a band and you guys are more established, so you have families, you also have a team that you want to try to keep together because that's what makes everything run smoother. Have you did you guys have to lay off anybody? Did you guys are you running more efficiently now to be able to be on tour?
We were really lucky in many ways. We didn't have our solid crew for us. We were doing a lot of tours all around the world, so we were just basically sharing crews in different tours. We only have the crew for Finland, but Finland is 5 million population. We do 10 gigs in Finland each year, so that is a different way of having a Finnish crew because they work for dozens of other bands during the same year. And we were almost at the decision that we are quitting our day jobs, especially the 10-month, 140 gigs was really rough to be able to maintain some kind of a day job.
Yeah.
We didn't do the decision. We didn't do the decision. When the pandemic hit, everybody had a plan B going on. So that was really helpful for the band because I know a lot of bands from Finland, for example, that all the money for the members and for the families, paying the rents, mortgages, school for the kids, whatever, food on the table, came from the tours. And when you've been touring for 10 years, it's not that easy to go to a job. It's not like there in Finland, we have just open jobs in every corner. Figuring out how to run your life suddenly in a situation where you thought you would never be. So luckily, we didn't have that. We had a really rough year with the touring and the jobs, but when the touring went off, we just could focus on the job and just slowly wait what happens globally with the pandemic.
Plus, on top of that, you have like already the music industry is in a place where if you don't tour, unless you're number one everywhere, you're not making much money. So you need the tour to make the money. So yeah, it's just like a bad situation.
And I wanted to ask you about the new record, King of the North. We have a lot of different stories behind each song on this, and each track is sort of based on different Finnish mythology. Maybe if you could tell us about that and what inspired that idea.
Well, the previous album we made, called Wolves of Karelia, was a theme album about the Winter War between Finland and Russia, 1939 to 40, and I really enjoyed that, like focusing one album on this short 3-month period in Second World War, and I did a lot of reading and a lot of like digging for the themes of the songs, and I really wanted to continue that, but Finnish history is a little bit different than Norwegian or Swedish. It's more shorter and a lot more like distorted, but the mythology is very fascinating. Because, of course, back in the days, people had to come up with explanations for where did the Northern Lights came from. The bear being the king of the forest and being seen like this godlike figure that was believed born from the stars and have an eternal spirit. And when you kill a bear, you need to hang the skull in the sacred tree facing east because that's where the spirit is going on. So there's so many cool stories in the mythology. So as a songwriter, to focus each song on one of these stories was super inspiring.
Was that hard as well? I mean, was there ever a time where you had music that you wanted to use and maybe you struggled to correlate it to a story, or was it all just a natural, easier process?
My writing method is that I always write the music first. I need to have the song basically completely ready. I do the demo version with all the instruments, all the basic like arrangements, and then I can start thinking about the story. It has to like the first story is the music, then I add the lyrics. So, but the difficulty was the fact that the Finnish mythology is very distorted and very badly documented. Like when you look at the Norwegian mythology, it's very structured, kind of like a religion itself, with the Odin and the Valhalla Vikings. It's very, and also you even have TV series about that. If you don't know how to read, you can get very deep into like Norwegian mythology. It's very clear.
Right.
It's very precise. And it's just, there's no different variations. In Finnish mythology, it's basically based on stories that were told between different like family members or villages. So it's just bits of stories and like different interpretations. Like, for example, the Born of the Northern Lights. There's different regions in Finland, completely different stories. One of them had told the story about this giant whale splashing the water from the ocean, and the stars and the moons were coloring the sky. Or it was a fox with a burning tail running in the sky.
Wow.
Or it was there was one belief that if you were murdered or you killed by violence and you went to the underworld, the Nordic version of the underworld, you were still bleeding there like eternally, like and the blood that you were bleeding was coloring the sky. So every region of Finland had a different explanation because and that was the coolest part, but also the most difficult part, because I had to read so much books about to combine the stories that I could actually write the lyrics for one song. And still there was a lot of the stories were just 2 lines of a poem that was found in like Karelian area of Finland like 300 years ago or something like that. So it was just like building a puzzle. There's no real books that tells the stories. You just combine small bits and pieces.
I love it,
man. That's fascinating. It kind of reminds me of certain religions like Hinduism, right? Where there's like thousands of gods. It's sort of piecing it together and giving your own meaning and definition to it within the context, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, I mean, in terms of sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, would you ever be like release this stuff as a book of your own?
Yeah, I can barely make one like set of lyrics of one certain story. It's like there is one book There's one book, it's called Kalevala, that is like the main mythology book from Finland. And do you know the Finnish band Amorphis?
I don't.
No.
That's one of the biggest bands from Finland, and they based all their lyrics from that book. So there's already one band doing covering that book, but that's also just a compilation. The author, about 200 years ago, just traveled from village to village and combined the stories into one form. So that's not even one story; it's just a compilation made by one author. So that's how the mythology is in Finland. Old lady stories passed from
I love them.
Yeah, that's it.
With centuries of broken phone between there, and then you try to backtrack what the stories actually were and what could it mean. So
it continues to sort of take on its own life, a new life as time goes on, right?
Yeah.
It's fascinating stuff. So how about the features on the album? I know that you guys had some awesome collaborations, including, Jesse Leach of Killswitch Engage on Ancestor, and of course, Carl Sanders from Nile on Cold Flame. How did you go about picking the people to collaborate with on this project?
Well, the funny thing is when we were making the album, the label and the management were asking do you want to have some guest vocals or something to make it more interesting? I was very determined that we don't need any. I don't want to have any. That's my decision, and that's how we're going to go, because this is the first album that our bass player and solo guitarist is also the vocals. So we have 3 vocalists already. We don't need any. And then we were mixing the album already last October, and one Russian fan sent me a link to Jesse's Instagram stories, and he had one of our songs playing on the background. I have no connection with Jesse. We don't share any management or label or any a connection at all. I never met him, but I used to be, and I still am a huge fan of his vocals, especially the Alive or Just Breathing album. That was the time when I was learning my vocals. I didn't do that style, but that made a huge impact on me. So I had to write a comment for that Instagram story, that nice song. I didn't expect a reply, but I get a reply in a few minutes with Jesse saying that it's nice to talk, and he's been a fan of Wolfheart for years already. One friend of his was introduced our music to him, and then they listened to it in regular basis and asking what is going on with the band and are we making new music. And of course, we were at the studio that time. I was telling about the new album and then played him a few songs, and he was very much into the stuff and just saying stuff like this would be perfect stuff for him. This would be the music he would like to sing on. And I was like, well,
it worked out.
Now that you mention, and it went so quick and smooth, I didn't even realize that suddenly we were doing vocals for Jesse.
Right.
And the coolest thing is, as a songwriter, I had the album already written and we were mixing it when this opportunity came. When we started talking, I didn't have the song. So I have to write a new song for the album. So I had basically, I wrote the song and made the demo in 2 days, sent it to Jesse, started working with the vocals. So as a songwriter, when you get to compose a song, knowing that one of your idols is going to participate on the song, that's the coolest thing ever. Because when I was writing the riffs and melodies, I could already think in my head what kind of voice Jesse could use here, or should I do the verse and he do the chorus, or like this. And I think it amped the excitement of the making of the album a lot in the final meters to have him on board.
Awesome. That's so huge, man. I mean, and the music is incredible too. You guys mentioned the mixing and mastering. How much sort of hands-on does the band have in that aspect? And how did you guys exactly get such a massive production sound? Because it's just huge.
I've used the same sound engineer for all of the albums, but this was the first time he did only the recording. I have another guy doing the sound. Both of my really old friends, when I started writing music, they started mixing and recording. So I've done with both guys together 18 albums.
Wow.
Now. Holy smokes.
When they grew up to be the top professionals, I slowly grew up to be a better songwriter. So it's been going hand in hand during the past 12 years. and doing albums together every year. So I think both sound engineers and me grew stronger together,
right,
to make this kind of music also. And I'm pretty hands-on still when it comes to the mixing, but I have a very clear vision already in the recordings what I want the music to sound. So it's but yeah, it's the sound engineers in our case, they are not like outsider professionals. They are part of the band when it comes to making the album.
Okay,
that's cool.
Very interesting. So in terms of you guys' collaborations with fans, or I guess it's better to say connection with fans through social media, we've seen you guys being very active, from everything from Facebook Live Q&As to reviewing fan covers of your music. Was this stuff that started throughout the pandemic, or is this something that you guys have always sort of been on top of in a good way?
I'm very private person. I don't enjoy that kind of stuff that much.
Right.
But I was born in the 80s also, so I don't understand this TikTok switch kind of stuff. It's if I could choose, I would just make music, live in a cabin with no electricity, and just come to the gigs and then go
That's
home.
right. Send the music off to the world.
Yeah. But the thing is, we always enjoy interacting with the fans when we are touring. So we always go to the merch stand or somewhere else. We always hang out with the fans. We never have those paid meet and greet, because that's to me is a horrible idea, because the people who would pay that money are basically our super fans already. They are the ones that are going to buy the merch. They are always going to buy the tickets for the show. So we're not going to put those guys pay more.
Yeah, they're already paying.
Yeah, they're already doing most of the buying when it comes to gigs and tickets and albums and everything, buying the mega bundles, buying the color vinyls, all that stuff. So they shouldn't be the ones paying to say hi to us. So we always hang out with the fans. 2 years, 200 gigs lost. We didn't get that interaction. So that I started to miss that a lot.
Yeah,
I don't usually miss that, because that was part of the normal touring cycle. So now it's been really nice to connect again with the fans with the social media, because that's not a good thing to lose that connection either. It's as private as I am, the music is also for the fans. Exactly. It's not just me in the cabin alone listening.
That's
to the
it.
album. But when the music comes out, it's part of something bigger and for other people's also. So it's been really nice to be able to, with this album promo cycle, to be more active with the fans.
Yeah,
man.
We see that you guys have a lot of fans that do covers of your songs. You guys, how does that make you feel?
Well, we hosted this competition. This was out of boredom of pandemic. We have a lot of I do all our music video production and editing. So there's every year we get more and more stuff in our rehearsal place from the videos. There's axes and battle helmets and whatever you can. I even bought the bear skin for the for the videos of this album. So I have the bear skin. I custom made this huge wooden throne that I have in my car at the moment because I have no place to put it. So we made this competition that best 3 covers that people will win certain prize. There was a few different axes and stuff like that. So that brought dozens of covers to YouTube. There's steady flow of those, but we really asked people to do all different kinds. It's not just playing. So there was one guy playing harmonica, one light engineer sent us a video from an empty venue where he made a light show.
That's sick.
On the empty stage, and he did a lot of effort. There was some pyros even on the thing. So it was really cool. Different forms of covers also that what people can do with our music.
That's super exciting. So, I mean, in terms of the album that's coming out on September 16th, of course, King of the North, which will be out on Napalm, what can folks expect maybe who haven't heard anything from the album? What can you tell them?
Like always bands say this, is the most melodic or most aggressive or most varied. I'm just repeating the same mantra here, but at least this is the first time that our band is introducing 3 vocals. That's a huge change. At least as a songwriter approach, but also I'm pretty sure the listeners will pick up that really well when you have 2 different new voices after 6 albums of just growling. So it's going to be a lot more varied, yeah.
That's going to be so cool. The last question I really wanted to ask you was, we saw some video of you doing some heavy lifting strongman training. I'm just curious about that. Is that something that you do super regular, and is that something that you also take on the road? I'm wondering.
There's actually our guitar player is the one who's competing in the strongman competition. He does all these like lifting round stones and pushing the logs on top of his head and stuff like that. I was supposed to compete in bench press, but that's really difficult with the touring. There was always tours when there was Finnish nationals. They are usually at the same time when all the tours begin in September, October. So I did the training. I never got to compete so far, but it's a really nice hobby. Let's put it that way. It's very difficult to combine with the touring. It's very difficult to combine with the studio work. So it's on and off. If I'm not on studio or tour, then I'm doing heavy lifting. But if I go to studio, if I go on tour, that complete break. It's like you don't train on a tour. It's just schedules and everything. Just I tried that once, trying to find a gym in each town to have the schedules, be able to sleep well enough, eat well enough, so it makes sense. I was just completely stressed out the whole tour, just trying to fit the schedules. I wasn't even enjoying the playing that much because I started to think that the gigs are interrupting my training.
Wow, there you go.
It doesn't make any sense when you are on a tour. Yeah. So I then decided, I'm just going to focus on the music when it's time, and then when I'm not doing music, then I do lifting. Just keeping things more simple.
Keeping that balance going.
Yeah.
That's super important. Well, Tuomas, thank you so much for taking the time. And we want to remind everybody that King of the North is out on September 16th, and we'll have all the info you guys need to check it out right down below. But we definitely wish you all the best with the album, and we're going to be continuing to listen as well.
Thank you.
We want to give a huge shout out to Tuomas for joining us on this brand new episode of Inner Sleeve. You know, like you said, Joe, right before we jumped into the interview, very much not under any illusions about this business. I don't think he signed up for something easy when he started this. He didn't expect it to be easy, and he really doesn't seem to feel entitled to anything. Everything that Wolfheart seems to have gotten, they seem to have worked really hard for. And I think that's an attitude, correct me if I'm wrong, but that I think we should be seeing more of today in the business.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I really appreciated from him. It was nothing held back. He's being straight up, like the fact of just simply the fact that, going back and it felt weird again to be on stage and the routine is not there and you don't know what to say in between songs and a couple shows in, then you're back to normal. And that's and another one that made me laugh is because I have a friend that's sort of similar. And it's when he said, we're not when tours shut down, we're not we don't hang around in the jam room. They're not young 15 to 20-year-olds doing something where it's hey, let's just go hang, drink some beers and play some music. They have families. They're probably more established, So there's that. And the fact that he brought into, understaffing of people had to move and do other things, get other jobs and for festivals and stuff. So it's definitely an eye-opener. At one point we're wow, it was a little too rosy colored for us over the last couple of artists that we've spoken about this. And this was it was good to get I said earlier, a medium band in a sense that's not they're not selling out arenas, and they're and they're and then it's they have their struggles, like he said, we're finally able to quit their jobs and go back and go to stuff. So it was interesting, definitely. What'd you think?
I thought it was great. I completely agree, and it's good to see that sort of unabashed workforce attitude or workhorse attitude, to just go for it. Yeah. And again, not feel like you're owed anything and just want to go out and take it. So listen, for all the up and coming artists out there, this is definitely something you guys should be listening to and taking note of. And we really hope you got something good out of this episode of Inner Sleeve. We want you guys to hit that subscribe button as well on all of our different platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Make sure to subscribe wherever you currently listen. If you're an audio listener, check out our YouTube. And if you're a video viewer, check out our audio pages. If you want to tune in on the go, at work, at school, whatever the case may be. We also post polls and community tabs every single week, including a spot for you to send your suggestions for us to react live on the air. So don't forget to go check that out. We also have some merchandise as well. We have the link down below in the description, so don't forget to go check that out. The SoundMojo merch, t-shirts, hoodies. We have everything but an actual SoundMojo host that you can get on the website. Do not forget to check it.
That might be coming.
That may be coming too. It depends how things go.
Uber host.
That's right. Well, the live show straight to your door. Thanks so much for tuning into this brand new episode of Inner Sleeve. We'll catch you guys next week.